Interviews live, cost of living, crisis, budget, shadow chancellor, video, UK23.
We talk about the national living wage going up. Is that agree or disagree?
Well, again, you know that we agree with increases in the national living wage, but the numbers yesterday show that at the end of this parliament, real disposable incomes for workers are going to be down, and that's the first time that has ever happened in a parliament.
I mean, the reason I'm doing that, I appreciate you saying some of this is already out there, but we're going through this now. The reason I'm asking those questions is some people might be saying that this could well have been, frankly, your budget.
And that's the point that I'm trying to make, Charlie, that there are other things that we would have done yesterday
differently.
If this had been a Labour budget or a Labour autumn statement. We would have got rid of the non-dom tax status and replaced it with a scheme for genuine people who are living in Britain for short periods of time. And we would have put that £2 billion into creating more appointments in our NHS and free breakfast clubs at all primary schools. We would properly be reforming the planning system because house building is at a 70-year low and the number of people owning.
So the question is, do you trust her or it's a Sunak?
Increasing.
We know this is on the government.
Investing alongside business to unlock private investment in the jobs
Hasn't got anything
of the future.
Done lately.
Because if you do those things, we can alleviate some of those short-term pressures that we face in our NHS, where the number of people on waiting lists has gone up to 7.8 million, as well as a serious plan for growing our economy, because you'll have seen in the numbers yesterday that growth in our economy has been downgraded next year, the year after, and the year after that. And without growth, you are going to continue to see falls in living standards and a deterioration.
And more people on the streets, as I saw yesterday in London and around Woking Town. I'm not joking.
Improve wages and get money into our frontline public services is so important.
Increasing, guys.
Big priorities for me. If it had been my
Can we carry on with this Tory party or not?
Attention on the Office of
This Somali government's not getting anything sorted out.
Looking forward, and this is the area that could well affect you if you were to win the next general election. Unprotected departments, the spending in unprotected departments, they're saying would face huge cuts, and this is going beyond 2025 and 2026. That is what you would be facing.
I'm under no illusions about the scale of the challenge that I would inherit if I had the privilege to become Chancellor of the Exchequer next year. Public finances are in a mess. The economy has barely grown. Living standards are falling. And our NHS and our schools and our other public services are on their knees after 13 years of Conservative government. I think you'd be hard-pressed to point to anything that works better in Britain today than when the Conservatives came into office 13 years ago. And that,
you can remember that far back,
I have been clear
some time ago.
Short-term injections of cash into our frontline public services. It's why we would get rid of the non-dom tax status. It's why we would change the tax treatment of bonuses in private equity firms to get money into our frontline public services right now. But it's also why I put so much emphasis on growing the economy, because the Conservatives have become a high tax party because they've become a party of low growth. They haven't been able to grow the economy, and this is not just something the last couple of years. This is now a 13-year problem.
Rachel, let me ask you a question in connection with
to the bottom of the league table.
Let me ask you a question. You said you would spend more money. So a lot of people's heads, common sense would say that you raise that money in one of two ways. You borrow more money in order to spend more money, or you tax people more.
But I've just explained that. We would get rid of the non-dom tax status.
That doesn't raise enough money, and you know
that raises £2 billion, and it would create an additional 2 million appointments every year in our NHS, as well as free breakfast clubs for all primary school age children. We would change the treatment of bonuses in private equity that are not taxed at the moment in a way that is fair. And also we would get rid of some of the tax breaks for private schools whereby they don't pay VAT or business rates.
Again, those numbers you're talking around there are fiddling around the edges, aren't they? And you know that doesn't raise
Go for it, Charlie.
significant sums in relation to government spending.
Charlie, it raises around £5 billion every single year. That's money that the Conservatives could use to invest in our public services, but they're choosing not to. And that would create the 2 million additional appointments in our NHS, which we desperately need. You know, the waiting lists have ballooned to 7.8 billion. If we could create those 2 million additional appointments every year in our NHS, we could get people through the system quicker, make people better, and actually that would also free up a lot of people whose lives are on hold to get back to work. So these are concrete, fully costed and fully funded proposals to get money into our frontline public services right now, and not asking.
I think it's a good idea.
Working people to pay a penny
I
more
want to get.
in tax
I want a better NHS at the end of the day.
a long time ago.
If I may, just a thought from you.
This is my foot injury at the
I
moment.
assume you've seen the news from Ofgem about the energy cap, the increase there, which will equate to an increase of £94 a year for the average household. Obviously, that's dependent on usage, but it is a rise when the numbers had been coming down. What's your thought about that?
Well, I mean, the problem is that the government announced some tax cuts yesterday, but already you're seeing that money disappears. It disappears in higher energy bills. It disappears in higher mortgage payments for anybody.
Yeah, it does go. It pretty much does.
Next year, and it
My food bills go through the roof. I don't know about yours, the guys out there.
Taxes. So people
Doesn't matter. Cut back what you do. You can't win at the moment.
13 years of Conservative government, they're worse off, not better off. And there's, afraid, nothing that the Chancellor did yesterday that changes that reality for working families.
Rachel Reeves, we appreciate your time this morning. Rachel Reeves is the Shadow Chancellor.
There you go, guys.
It's 20
There's the
minutes
verdict.
past 7, now to the largest animal on earth.
Hope you liked the video. Please subscribe on Sunday Jones with the force speed with your always cut spot the needs of the money. Outweigh the need to listen to my friends Barking Jimbo on the ITF5 thing. So Hills Ratio every Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. And look at his all 1500 something ITF5 thing. So Hills Ratio every Friday. And this is my friend John and Lars show every Sunday at 9 to 12 p.m. on the Waking Race live on the Waking Race show, Lars show. And this is my friend Shane for these 2 weeks on the So Hills Ratio show at 2 to 3 p.m. in the afternoon. In analog. It's 2 to 3 p.m. This is that 1400 thing I had on the Monday afternoon every 2 weeks on the Shane of the Years. Race this show on Surrey Hills Radio. Please subscribe on Sunday Devons. And yes, it's about wildlife and you name it, nature.
Yes,
so look at this.
Marine mammals.
This is really
Oh,
cool.
what a sight that is.
I've never seen so many different species, so many different species. We've got hundreds of animals here. It's
Incredible.
pretty remarkable.
Well, it is remarkable.
This is now an ecological paradise, teeming with life. But back in the 1960s, Soviet whaling vessels captured and killed hundreds of whales in these
There you go,
waters.
how precious they are to us, wildlife is, and sea life.
All right, here you go.
Incredible.
To find out if the animals had returned, scientists listened. Underwater microphones are able to pick up the very low frequency sounds that blue whales use to communicate
Wow.
at distances of
Blue
hundreds of miles
whales.
through the ocean. But the researchers weren't actually able to hear the blue whales calling directly. It took a year of recording from the seabed and painstaking analysis of all those months of sound to identify the telltale very low frequency
Beautiful.
calls. The signature of these marine giants.
We do know that blue whales worldwide were decimated by commercial whaling.
Yeah, like the
listened for
Chinese
over
and
a
the
year,
Russians.
And we heard them in many months of the year. That suggests that the Seychelles is really important for blue whales. And so understanding when and where blue whales may have recovered and are coming back, it's a really good, it's a conservation win.
Incredible.
These whales are vital to the health of our oceans.
I certainly
They
are.
lock up large amounts of planet-warming carbon in their huge
Hear that?
bodies. They can consume 500,000 calories in one mouthful, and even their poo provides important nutrients for other marine life.
Wow.
Long after the end of commercial whaling here, the Seychelles
You
have
saw it there.
committed
That's
to
just
officially
go to the
protecting
toilet.
almost a third of its national waters for wildlife.
Incredible.
Turns
Amazing.
out if you stop killing animals on mass scales and you give them a chance to rebound, they can recover.
Of course they can. Of course they
The
can.
scientists hope to return to find out more about how the world's largest whales are using this area, and if they're breeding here. They'll be looking and listening
Remarkable.
for more clues about how to protect these waters now that the ocean's largest inhabitants have returned.
Amazing.
Victoria Gill, BBC News.
Beautiful. I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe on Sunday Jones. Thanks so much for the video. Bye everyone. Oh yeah, and it's Doctor Who's 50th anniversary today.
Humanoids detected. Seek, locate, exterminate. You will join us as we mark 60 years of Doctor Who. Do not miss it. You will obey. But first, it's time for the news. Travel at atmospheric conditions where you are. Do not move. Do not deviate. Stay tuned. You will obey the Daleks. The Daleks obey.
Exterminate! 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 A Scar planet. Like what we do, everything. Scry Chancellor